All right, well, it's a busy holiday travel season, as you know, alongside getting gifts from your family. And something that the Trump administration has been laser focused on when it comes to roads, something that impacts everybody, is cracking down on illegal immigrants who receive commercial driver's licenses and then wind up driving these big rigs and tractor trailers when they can't even speak English or read road signs. There have been a series of accidents and fatal crashes that have taken place across the country as a result of this. And Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has been spearheading the issue of getting these driver's licenses to be revoked and making our roads safer, and has threatened to withhold federal funding from several states because of this. California has actually responded to Secretary Duffy's request and said, okay, we are going to revoke 21,000 driver's license from migrants who have received them. And now it turns out that this group of migrants are suing the state as a result.
Right. So they've, in California alone, more than 17,000 have been yanked. Another 24,000 are under review right now. In these truckers, these immigrant truckers, many of them illegal immigrants, are suing. Here's a little bit of what the lawsuit says. It alleges that on November 6th, the California DMV notified 17,299 immigrant drivers and business owners that their non-domiciled CDLs, that's commercial driver's licenses, would be canceled on January 5th, 2026. That's just days from now due to an error with the expiration date of the licenses. A similar letter was sent to an additional 2,700 drivers in December, informing them that their licenses would be canceled in mid-February. For all nearly 20,000 immigrants, the DMV intends to cancel their commercial licenses without any affording opportunity to obtain a corrected license or to contest the cancellation, the lawsuit reads. But let's remember the deadly results of allowing illegal immigrants not only to cross the border and be released into the country, but then to give them work authorization and commercial driver's licenses to operate 18-ton trucks, 18-wheelers on our roads. Here's a list we can show you going all the way back to this summer in Florida. The illegal immigrant trucker killed 3, attempting to make that illegal U-turn. And back in October, another killed in a truck driving incident. In California, they've seen a number of incidences, to include in Ontario, where 3 were killed. And just last month, you had in Oregon another horrific incident that killed 2 after a truck jackknife. And then just weeks ago in Tennessee, a Chinese national kills one by causing a deadly multi-vehicle pileup. In Washington State, you had an illegal immigrant trucker failed to decelerate and killed 1. And you know what's crazy is in those last 2 incidences, the Chinese illegal truck driver and the Indian illegal truck driver, those crossed in 2023 in Lukeville, Arizona, where I saw the immigrants coming across, these middle-aged men from all over the world. And in California, the Chinese individual crossed in San Diego, because I looked back at their alien files through my sources of Border Patrol, and you look back at the chaos that the border was, and you realized this is likely going to be a consequence, and yet the previous administration just let it run wild. That's why Secretary Duffy now, to your point, Carly, is leaning in. Here's a little bit of what he said.
These are simple rules. These rules are not made up by the Trump administration. I didn't make them up. These are rules that are set up to make sure our roads are safe. And so if you can't speak English, if you haven't gone through the proper training courses, you shouldn't be behind the wheel of a big rig. You had Joe Biden that let tens of millions of people into the country, and then you have liberal governors who said, well, they got to work, so let's give them commercial driver's licenses and put them on the American roads, endangering the safety of the American people. So I can't go in across the states and do these checks. I have to rely on the state's law enforcement to help me out. But what I can do, Brian, is I can pull their money. That's the leverage that I do have. I guarantee you that the federal taxpayer is not going to fund their roads and bridges and their systems when they're putting illegals on the roads and endangering the lives of the American people.
What you saw right there is a picture of righteous indignation. I mean, Sean Duffy's pretty even-keeled. He's upset, and rightly so, because you're not just putting American lives at risk. You have been irresponsible. If your state's doling out CDLs to just anybody, they can't read the signs, they can't speak the language. California and New York, and I think those are probably leading the way here, and I'm thankful, not just for us as Americans, but for the people who are out there on the roads, whether you're American or not, you deserve safety. And these people have to be properly trained. And if they are not, they should not be behind the wheel of an 80,000-pound rig. I mean, this is outrageous. And so thankfully, they're finally making some strong decisions. And Carla, you mentioned it. By eliminating the funding, it will finally compel these states to do the right thing and get these dangers off the road.
And not every truck driver who's getting their license revoked in California is here illegally.
Yeah.
But the number one point of the government on a state level, federal, local, is always
Safety.
to keep Americans safe.
Yep.
And if there are people who are receiving licenses who are in this country and they don't speak English and they don't read road signs and they're getting these work authorizations that allow them to operate these massive big rigs, and we've seen the footage of a result of what happens. It's frightening.
Yeah.
And it's a very good thing that something is changing.
You know what hasn't changed is the Democrats and many in the mainstream media simply making the case that what President Trump and this administration has done to crack down and secure our border from dangers just like this, that it's somehow mean-spirited and cruel to say if you cross the border illegally, then that's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. You should just be allowed to stay, despite the fact that we have laws on our books that Congress passed, Title 8, Code U.S. 1325. If you cross the border illegally, you've committed a crime. Do it a second time, it's a felony. But yet here's the AP talking about a Venezuela's family's Christmas, saying from the American dream to poverty. And they're leaning into the sympathy of migrants, saying this was not the Christmas that Mariela Gomez would have imagined a year ago, or the one that thousands of other Venezuelan immigrants would have thought. But Donald Trump returned to the White House in January and quickly ended their American dream. Her two sons and her partner returned to the city of Maracay on October 27th after crossing the U.S.-Mexican border to Texas, where they were quickly swept up by the Border Patrol amid the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration. They were deported to Mexico, from where they began the dangerous journey back to Venezuela.
Did you notice they said immigration? They didn't say illegal immigration. Yeah. They always blithely ignore the fact that there are ports of entry, there are ways to come to and we love immigration in this country. We want as many legal immigrants as the system can handle. But in this circumstance, again, they're playing a little sleight of hand with the language, and this is exactly your point.
Yeah, they want to argue that crossing the border illegally is a form of acceptable immigration.
Exactly.
And to your point, Kevin, it's simply not.
That's right.
And the people overwhelmingly voted across partisan lines, across all demographics, that what we saw in the past 4 years of the border crisis is not acceptable.
That's right.
And we're sadly reporting daily on the deadly consequences. But yet, you know, that AP article really rubs me the wrong way, because no one wants to be cruel, but we either have a country of laws or we don't.
That's right.
And we either have a border or we don't. And that's what this administration is making the decision to say we do, and we're going to enforce it. If Democrats in the mainstream media, but if Democrats are upset about it, then change the laws. Yeah. Because ICE and Border Patrol are not choosing to be cruel. They're carrying out federal immigration law that is on the books. It's
trade-offs. There are trade-offs to everything. And we saw what took place when there were open borders and you get Venezuelan migrants coming into the country, and some of them are good people, but then you also have Tren de Aragua and them as well. And they were taking over apartment complexes in Colorado, and there are citizens that are no longer on this earth as a result. So the Trump administration came in and changed that, and unfortunately this Associated Press piece is slanted in a different direction. Amazing. But you could see through all of that.
Yeah.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.